Well, the pair of them, Pietreczko and Schindler, enjoyed beating the two Lukes of England in the World Cup last year.
He could have stayed in the hotel. On Friday, May 8th, 2026, inside Halle A of the Messehalle in Graz, with 1,000 darts fans watching from the floor, Ricardo Pietreczko walked out onto a European tour stage instead. The dart came up, the arm came back, and his hand would not release. He kept playing anyway, leg after leg, attempt after attempt, all the way to the final double. By the time the match ended, the German commentary on air was using a word about him no professional ever wants to hear. That word is still circling him now. Whether it stays attached to his name for the rest of his career depends almost entirely on what happens in his right arm over the next few months. Before any of that word, here is the player at the center of it. Ricardo Pietreczko is a German professional on the PDC Pro Tour, where he plays under the nickname Pikachu. The first round of the PDC World Championship sits on his record, one of the biggest televised stages the sport offers. At the 2025 PDC World Match Play, another of darts' major TV events, he drew Chris Dobie in the first round. His European Tour main stage appearances in 2025 alone include the Flanders Darts Trophy against Ryan Joyce, the Czech Darts Open against Benjamin Pratnama, the Hungarian Darts Trophy where he came through Jim Williams before meeting Josh Rock in the second round, and the Swiss Darts Trophy where he came through Oscar Lukasiak before facing Martin Schindler. In 2026, he added a Grand Prix tie against Nathan Aspinall to that list. Germany's number 2 spot at the upcoming World Cup of Darts is currently his, alongside Schindler. By the record of his last 2 seasons, he has earned a place on the PDC's main stages, and that's exactly what makes the last 2 weeks so jarring. The first public sign arrived earlier this spring. In a German-language interview after a deciding leg thriller at what was described as his European Tour comeback in early April 2026, his own words made the headline. In German they read, "Schwierig, nervlich, alles unter einen Hut zu bekommen." Translated, what he told the reporter was that it had become difficult to keep everything together mentally. That sentence sat in the German darts press for several weeks without escalating. Nervousness was the word he reached for. The mental side of returning to a stage was how he framed it. What he never said out loud in that interview was the word the audience around him would soon use without his permission. That word is Dartitis. Dartitis is the term darts uses for a yip-style condition where a player loses the ability to release the dart at the intended moment. Sports medicine classifies it as a focal task-specific dystonia, similar to the yips in golf. The effects range from a brief freeze at the line, to extended holds, to visible jerks at release. It has ended careers and reshaped others. Eric Bristow remains the most cited case in the sport. The 5-time world champion publicly suffered the condition in the late 1980s and spoke about it for the rest of his life. Mark Webster, the former BDO world champion from 2008, has also discussed his experience publicly. The most watched modern example came at the 2017 Grand Slam of Darts, when Dutch player Barry van Peer struggled visibly on stage against Gary Anderson. That footage remains one of the most difficult clips in the sport's recent history, and it shaped how fans and commentators talk about the condition today. Treatment paths reported in darts media include sports psychology, deliberate technical rebuilds, enforced breaks from the tour, and slow returns through smaller events. None of those paths come with a guarantee. Some players have come back, others never did. That is the cultural backdrop against which the last 7 days happened to Pietreczko. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the 5th and 6th of May 2026, the PDC ran 2 Players' Championships at Halle 39 in Hildesheim in Germany, and Pietreczko was entered in both. By the reading of one German darts analyst looking at the official numbers, his first day of those Players' Championships had already gone. In the analyst's own word, not good. On the second day, something happened that had not happened publicly to him before. He abandoned the match mid-game after roughly 3 or 4 legs, still in the early phase of the contest. His 3-dart average at the point of abandonment landed, according to the same analyst, somewhere in the range of 50 to 60. To put that number in perspective, his stage average 2 days later in Graz would be 83.5, and even that figure was being described as the output of a handicapped player. 50 to 60 for a tour card holder is not a player having a bad day. It is a player who cannot get the dart out of his hand. That same evening, after walking off the Hildesheim stage, Pietreczko did something that surprised many people who follow the sport. Berlin was the destination, and the German live-streamed darts event was the venue. According to a German analyst recap that picked up the moment, Pietreczko said on the stream, in his own words, that he had abandoned the match because he could not get it across the stage. The cause, he told the audience, was not physical, it was mental. That sentence, on the verified record, is the closest a public statement of his has come to confirming what the audience around him has been asking for weeks. Dartitis still did not pass his lips, mental did. 2 days later came Graz, May 8th, 2026, the 2026 Elton Safety Shoes Austrian Darts Open European Tour event number 6 of the season played in the Messehalle, Halle A. Withdrawing was an option. Pietreczko was already in the public spotlight for Hildesheim. His own statement about struggling mentally was already on the record. He chose to play anyway. Patrik Kovac, the Hungarian, drew him in the first round. The format was best of 11 legs. By the end of it, Kovac had taken the win, 6 legs to 4, sealed on a double 16. The German commentary called the match, in their phrase, one of the longest matches in European Tour history. What was happening at the Oki made sense of that description. The dart was sitting in his hand, the arm was coming back, the release was simply not coming. By the end of the match, the German commentary had stopped softening anything. The commentator's words were these, in German: Patrik Kovac holt seinen zweiten Sieg auf der European Tour gegen einen gehandicapten Ricardo Pietreczko, der offensichtlich viele Probleme hatte, den Dart loszulassen. Translated, that reads, Patrik Kovac takes his second European Tour win against a handicapped Ricardo Pietreczko, who obviously had a lot of problems releasing the dart. The same commentator added, respect, that he stepped up here in Graz. He could just as well have simply pulled out, but Ricardo played, and reasonably okay at that, with an average of 83.5. Across the English language broadcast, the framing was softer but pointed in the same direction. When you are going through what he is, the English commentator said early in the match. Later, under horrible circumstances, he looks like he is having fun. Later still, I have not seen Pikachu smile this much in a long time. At the close of the match, the issues for Ricardo are here. We wish him all the best. Inside that long, awkward match, there were also moments that reminded everyone in the hall who Pietreczko is when his hand cooperates. A 171 came down, 6 darts into the perfect 9, the English broadcast called it. A 167 finish on the bullseye sat in front of him at one point, missed, and the 170 was even threatened at another. Those moments, the commentary called, in their word, magic. All of them landed in the same match in which he could not consistently let go of his own dart. That contrast is the whole story right now. The talent has not gone anywhere. On-demand access to it has. The crowd in the Messehalle stayed with him from the first leg to the last. The English commentary noted on air that a lot of darts fans in the building understood what was going on. Nobody booed, nobody jeered. The on-stage interaction with Kovac was, in the words of the German broadcast, in their phrase, Klasse, meaning class. Both players' partners embraced their men at the side of the stage after the final dart. Pietreczko smiled, and then he was out of the tournament. One more piece of context explains how the player on stage in Graz got there. According to the same German darts analyst who has been tracking him this spring, Pietreczko has already changed his throwing motion in recent weeks, specifically because the dart was sticking in his hand. The analyst's words, translated, were that we have seen him change his throw because every now and then he just stopped and could not get the dart released, and his throw has definitely changed. That detail matters for 2 reasons. The problem did not appear suddenly in Graz, it has been building, and he has been trying to fix it from the inside by adjusting his own technique rather than stepping away. What happened in Graz was the most public version of an adjustment that had already been visible to anyone watching closely. Around the same window, Pietreczko also publicly switched to a new signature dart from a German manufacturer. New equipment, a modified throw, and Dartitis-style symptoms have all arrived together. Cause and effect on the verified record is not clear. What is clear is that he has been fighting this on several fronts at once. That brings the story to where it sits now. Out of the Austrian Darts Open. No formal social media statement about Graz issued yet on the verified record. A German analyst expected one to come, and as of this video, nothing has come. 3 different words are circulating around him at the same time, and that is the controversy. Handicapped is the word the German broadcast used. A German darts analyst reporting on the Hildesheim abandonment said the audience was talking about Dartitis, but he explicitly refused to apply the diagnosis himself, on the principle that only Pietreczko could confirm it. Pietreczko himself on the Berlin livestream used the word mental. None of those 3 words mean the same thing. All 3 of them are being said about him this week. Only the third has, on the verified record, come out of his own mouth. One complication the audience has not yet focused on sits on the horizon. Germany's number 2 spot at the World Cup of darts is still his, alongside Martin Schindler. The same German analyst expressing public concern this week described that assignment as one of the biggest pressure stages of his career, on home crowd, on television. If the release problem at the Oki persists, the pairing becomes a problem not just for him, but for German darts as a whole. If it resolves, the problem disappears almost overnight. No middle path exists on a stage that size. Back then, to where this video began, the hotel was an option. He chose the stage instead. 1,000 people watched him walk out, pick up his darts, and try to let go. Many of them, his hand would not release. Handicapped was what the German commentary called him on air. Dartitis is what the audience around him is reaching for. Mental is the only word he himself has used. All 3 descriptions exist in the conversation around him this week, and only one of them has, on the verified record, been spoken by him. The next few weeks will decide which of those words becomes the one the sport remembers. A quiet return to scoring form, a settled release at the line, a public statement using softer language, and the harder words fade from the conversation. A second public moment using a stronger word himself, a withdrawn schedule, a longer absence, and the word becomes part of his story for years. For now, the verified facts are these. The tour still has him on it. He is still talking, he is still throwing, he is still showing up to play matches he could legitimately have skipped. In his own verified words, what is hard right now is not his arm, it is everything that happens between the back of his throw and the release. The audience has chosen its word, he has not yet chosen the same one. What he chooses to call this in the next few weeks will, more than any leg score or any tournament average, decide what the rest of his career on the PDC Tour looks like.